Good evening. The Stillwater Planning Commission meeting of January 21st, 2020 is called to order. I'll briefly explain the format of tonight's meeting. It will be the process this evening to call the items for the agenda. The commission will hear from the staff reports first. Then the applicant or applicant's representative will be heard from. Then I'll open the public hearing and hear from those in favor or in opposition to the request. When you come to the podium, please clearly state your name and address for the record. After all interested parties have spoken, the public hearing will be closed. We will hear closing remarks and alternatives from the staff, and then we'll have debate and then a vote. First item is item 2A, AT&T Troy Williams Civic Use Permit, requesting a review approval of civic use permit to allow construction of a 120-foot tall monopole AT&T tower with a 55 by 55 fence compound with an 8 by 8 foot equipment shelter and natural gas generator on a portion of property currently addressed as 1620 East 6th Avenue in the Commercial General District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, Ryan Harkins, Community Development. This is a specific use permit for a 120-foot cell tower. You can see it's on the north side of 6 between Payne and Stollard. The area that is hatched is the subject property. This is the aerial view. The property inside the gold rectangle is the subject property in question. The proposed location would be toward the north side of the property. This is the proposed site plan that AT&T and their agent has forwarded to us. You can see the pole as proposed, this again toward the north side of the property. This is a current retail establishment right off of 6th Street. With that, staff is going to yield the floor to the agent and or their applicant for further discussion of the proposal.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Troy Williams. Our office is at 1900 Northwest Expressway, Suite 800, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73118. AT&T is proposing a 120-foot cell tower, and the property address is 1620. The site address assigned is 1680, if that matters, 6th Street, East 6th Street. The 120-foot tower is needed because the sites that they're currently using, the capacity is picked up so much that it's creating a gap in coverage, and not just outdoor, but in-building coverage mainly. The site is a full-blown cell site with cellular, data, broadband Wi-Fi, and FirstNet, a dedicated bandwidth for first responders. The site is, the lease area is a 55 by 55 foot area back behind Mr. McCubbin's property. The site is 166 feet from the nearest residential property line, the tower is, and our access will be through Mr. McCubbin's existing shops. He has workshops there, and you go through another couple of gates to get to it. As you know, it's about 80%, approximately 80% of 911 calls now are made on wireless devices or mobile devices. And this site will do in-building coverage as well as outdoor coverage. And it'll also tie into the existing site, so it'll give you a solid coverage pattern across there. I don't know, was that in your packet, the coverage maps? I have those if you'd like to see them. And there was no co-locable structures. This is a targeted area to cover with the growth going out east. You got Lock Supply right next door, east going in. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
No?
It says it's a monopole design. Could you describe what this tower kind of looks like?
Yes, sir. The best way to describe it is a singular tower in sections, 3 sections that go up with the antennas at a different. It's built for 3 carriers, fully loaded, so it's structurally designed to handle up to 3 carriers. It looks like a light pole maybe at a football stadium, something like that. That's not lattice. It's a solid singular pole, and that I can give you.
And does it have like guy lines that stretch out? you
No,
know?
sir, no guy, I'm sorry, no guy wires or
Okay,
anything else.
So it's
Yeah.
just a single pole kind of popping up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's sufficient for
I have-
my question.
Okay, I have photos if you need it. Sorry.
No, no.
No other questions? Let me call the public hearing. Let me open the public hearing. Is there anybody that'd like to speak for this particular item?
My name is Michael McCubbin. I own the property at 1620 E6, and of course, I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else that's like to speak in favor of this? Anybody that'd like to speak in opposition of this? Would anybody like to speak in opposition of this particular item?
Good afternoon. My name's Diana Compton, and I live at 701 South Wicklow, apartment number 1001, 74074. I have family, friends, and neighbors who are going to be affected by this structure. I'd like to know, first of all, if an antenna structure registration application has been filed, and if so, what is the file number? I'd like to know if there's been actual data collected on gaps in coverage, the need for first responders, because these are usually the excuses or reasons for building these towers in a residential area. And I did some quick research online, and these towers affect property values in the area. A real estate expert witness said it was approximately 15% devaluation. So you can count all the affected homes in the area and look at their values and come to a total of the cost to the community that this tower has the potential to cause. And I'd also like to point out in this area that a lot of the people living there are retired people on fixed incomes, and their home is their most valuable asset. And so putting this tower up there will take 15% approximately of their wealth. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak in opposition of this particular item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. You may come up and respond. I've closed the public hearing. You may, and as the applicant, if you want to respond to any of the questions, you can come up.
Just in response, we've done multiple studies on property values and everything else. The value, it costs about $180,000 just to put a tower in. The AT&T is going to put another $300 and something thousand worth of equipment on the site, so you got a $400 to $500 investment in the community. Actually, in areas that have the best wireless communication, you have the highest growth and the highest potential for future growth. We've done many studies on property values, and it doesn't decrease the property at all. As a matter of fact, it gives you an opportunity to, especially commercial properties and things like that, because you have coverage. FAA has been ran. I do have a file number. I'll have to get that to you.
You can talk
Oh,
to the lady. I'm
okay.
not interested
Okay.
in that number.
All right.
That doesn't make any difference to me in terms of reviewing this particular
Okay.
issue.
Thank you, sir.
Staff, do you have any comments?
So, in terms of findings, what we can determine is that At the present time, the Land Development Code allows cell towers of this size with an SUP. It's an accessory use to existing commercial development. The existing commercial uses remain in the location. They propose their facility to be self-contained. With that in mind, you can accept the findings and recommend the council approve the SUP as presented. You can find it's acceptable with conditions and recommend approval with those stated conditions. If you find the SUP is not acceptable based on the impacts, you can recommend denial by the city council, or you can find if there's additional information needed, you can table the item to a certain date later. Any questions on the findings or alternatives? All right. Thank you.
Discussion of the Planning Commission? Do I hear a motion?
I move that we accept findings and recommend City Council approve proposed SUP, special use permit as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Let's vote. The motion passes 4-0. Let's move on to item 2B, Stillwater Estates LLC final plat, requesting review and approval for the final plat to create a residential subdivision of 39 lots and 2 outlots zoned residential single-family lot RSS on property currently addressed as 1600 East 16th Avenue.
Okay. Members of the commission, this is a final plat proposal. You approved previously the preliminary plat for Stillwater Estates. This is off of Payne and 16th. The subject property is in the hatch pattern on this graphic. This area map is in your packet as well. You can see Payne, you can see 17th, you can see 16th being extended. This is proposed as an emergency access. The main access into the development would be off of Payne. This is the aerial view of it. The area in red is the proposed development. And the next 2 slides give you an example of how the plat has evolved during discussions in the review process. Presently, they're proposing 42 lots. And at that point, staff is going to step aside and let the applicant and their agent further explain their proposal to you.
Good evening, Kelly Harris with Keystone Engineering, located at 923 South Lowry, here representing the owners tonight. Just a quick clarification, the original preliminary plat that you approved was 42 lots. This final plat is 39 lots. Just some loss of lots during the review process and improvement plan design. So the final plat before you tonight has been fully reviewed, and all of staff's comments have been addressed as of January 14th. There have been no substantial changes from the approved preliminary plat. A substantial change would consist of changing the character or impact of the development. These typically would include increasing the density or changing the entrance/exit location points to the development. We have done none of these types of changes. The travel path within the development has remained the same, and our density has decreased. As staff stated, the comprehensive plan designates this area as low-density residential with a mix of density up to 20 units per acre. This would include areas of small-scale, low-density multifamily. However, we are proposing a density of 5.1 units per acre. In comparison, the zoning classification of RSS, which this is zoned RSS, allows up to 8 units per acre. A lower density, large lot residential zone allows up to 4 units per acre. So you can see we are closer to the large lot density than we are to the density RSS allows. Payne Street has been a concern throughout the project, and the owners have agreed to widen it to city standards down to 17th Avenue as part of the project. All construction traffic will utilize the gravel access drive, not Payne Street. The internal streets will not be paved until heavy construction traffic has been completed, meaning earthwork, detention work, sanitary sewer, and water construction. At that time, the streets would be paved and only residential home construction trucks would be on the internal streets. The staff mentioned previously that they are going to post load signage on Payne Street, so that will keep the individual contractors such as concrete trucks off the streets off Payne Street during home construction. In regard,
Be using 16th? What street will they be using?
yes, 16. That one is designed for fire truck load rating, also for emergency access trucks. In regard to drainage, we have not and are not asking for any exceptions to the code for drainage requirements. City staff has approved the final plat, which designates drainage easements. So in summary, this entire project has met all of city codes, the comprehensive plan, and the accepted preliminary plat. So tonight we are requesting that you vote to recommend approval to City Council.
So 16th will be, after everything's finished, the emergency access only. Is that a correct statement?
Yes.
So there'll be a gate there. Or what will be there?
Yes, we have proposed a gate with a Knox lock on it.
Okay.
As far as construction traffic, we may need to rethink that, and I don't know if we leave it open until a certain number of houses are constructed to keep those concrete trucks off of Payne. But we can work with city staff on that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Would you please point out the detention area that's proposed for the plat?
Sure will. This area here is the detention facility area. So it's to the west side of the site.
Okay.
So all of the streets drain into the detention facility.
What other changes since last month?
Since November, and the lot layout is completely the same. In November, I had proposed this as Lot 9. It didn't meet lot requirements since that existing pond is there, so we changed the name of it to Outlot B. And then the only other change to the final plat was we added a note to the final plat stating that the designated drainage areas are the responsibility of the homeowners association to maintain.
Now, you're proposing to widen Payne, correct?
Yes, to city standard.
Proposing to add gutters?
No, it would still be an asphalt open section with ditches, because that's the way drainage is now on that section.
So as it is now means it's adequate?
So the city allows you to build two different types of road, and both of them are acceptable and approved per city standard, and that could be either a road with curb and gutter or an asphalt section with ditches. So we would be going back to the same style that's there now, just widening it to city standard.
And Payne leads right down to a residence at the end of the street, correct?
On the other side of 17th,
Yes.
it would appear so.
Well,
It's
it
hard to
is.
see on that side, but
Okay.
and
So-
then there's ditches on the north side of 17th in both directions as well.
So all the drainage that goes down Payne will continue to flow to this lot?
So the only drainage from our site going down Payne is the south side of this intersection. Everything else from this location here flows this direction. This location here flows this way, and we've bumped up this intersection to make everything flow to the west.
Okay, good theory. What's going to be the structure of Payne? Is it going to be, what's the substrate going to be? Is it going to be asphalt, concrete, or just be this asphalt as it is now, just wider?
No, it would be to city standards, so we would have to do boring samples and replace the subgrade as needed to bring it up to city standard. And
Okay.
the city standards has that designated.
Oh, not really.
So, as I interpret the question is, the surface, is it gonna be asphalt or concrete, or have you not?
The surface is asphalt.
Surface asphalt, and you're gonna make the cross-section based upon geotechnical information to meet city standard?
Yes. So whether or not that's ag base, treated subgrade, certain amount of 6 inches, 6.5 inches, I believe 6.5 inches is asphalt requirements, how thick that top coat is.
So staff has determined then that the potential load on this street as a result of the additional lots and housing and vehicles is adequate.
We will have the geotech, and whatever their recommendations are, that's what we'll do.
Okay, so the number of lots really, hasn't decreased since November. It stands at 39, which you say works out to about 5 units per acre.
Correct.
And you said that low density at the maximum range is 4 per acre, correct?
In a different zoning classification, the
Right.
RSL. We're in RSS, which is 8 units per acre.
I understand
Yep.
that.
Mhm.
I understand that. Okay, all right, no more questions.
And the 39 lots is less than what was on the approved preliminary plat.
From 49 to 39.
42 to
42,
39.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Yep, no problem.
Apologize.
Yep.
No, there's no problem with that. Any other questions? Seeing no other questions? do
I
you
would
have
like the
anything?
opportunity to come back up and
You
address any
definitely
questions.
will have that opportunity.
Thank you.
Let me officially open the public hearing. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in for this particular development? Not seeing anyone, would anybody like to speak against this proposed development?
Yes, Ray Bernard, 1602 South Payne Street. Last name spelled B-A-R-N-A-R-D. If it pleases the chair, I have some material I'd like to cover with you as we go, just for the sake of understanding.
You can hand it out, yes. Do you happen to have an additional copy for the applicant?
I do. Okay, so paperclip together there, you've got a few pertinent pages of the C3 plan, Comprehensive Plan 2030, a few pertinent pages of the city ordinances, and a tree inventory, and a photograph of the southwest corner of that property. So just to start through this C3 plan, the pertinent issues, the statutes that require the comprehensive plan there are highlighted, and they're designed to accomplish things. Those things they're designed to accomplish are to promote the health and general welfare, quality of life of the district, prevent overcrowding of land, and to avoid undue concentration of population. Also, preservation of community character. Next page, goals and guiding principles. 1C is highlighted, promote preservation of existing foliage during the development process. I'd like to take a minute now and just look at that picture of the trees and have an idea of what's actually there. There's about 304 trees in the corner of that, and I haven't yet to hear of any plan to preserve any of that foliage. Okay, next, page 6, maintain the established character of existing neighborhoods. We know this doesn't do that. We know at your last meeting, under the discussion, it was mentioned there's 103 acres surrounding this, and that the density there is 0.39 homes per acre. So to be in balance with that neighborhood, you would have 4 homes up here, not 39. The next page, guide the appearance, scale, and location of urban development to enhance community character and protect the scenic natural landscape. I'm sorry, but this is not going to do anything for that landscape out there except destroy it, and it's not going to enhance our community character. Under item F, provide for adequate open space and recreational area in future development through the preservation of natural landscape. No, doesn't do that. That's all coming out. Streets and a detention pond will be where the trees currently are. Encourage infill that is compatible with and enhances the surrounding neighborhood character. Again, we know this doesn't do that. Trees and landscaping. There's a little bar over there, benefits of trees. Improves air quality, water quality, reduces flooding by absorbing and intercepting rainfall in the canopies as well as their roots, and reduce the stormwater. The existing trees in Stillwater are an important resource that should be preserved. Trees provide needed windbreak, erosion control, shade, mainly erosion control over there. And the native plants have long roots which retain stormwater, reducing runoff, and they encourage the native. So that's what I see in this C3 plan, that it doesn't do at all. And in fact, the guidelines that are supposed to guide development are to make sure these happen and are not overlooked. As far as city codes, Chapter 23, Article 9, purpose and intent. These regulations are adopted for the purpose and intent of A2, provide for landscaping and trees to shade buildings and pave surfaces to reduce the amount of runoff and erosion. That's on page 1. Page 2, natural features. Existing water courses and other natural features must be considered for preservation when planning open space, location and orientation of buildings, services, paved surfaces, finished grade, etc. I want to draw your attention there. The main thing is existing water course must be considered for preservation. Water course is defined on the next page. Well, any depression covered by stormwater which gives direction to a current of stormwater where the drainage above the same is 5 acres or more in extent, and this clearly is because this takes drainage all the way from 12th Street. So I don't go to the report in your packet tonight. Go to the last page. At this time, the applicant feels all the comments from city staff had been addressed. Doesn't say they have been, just says the applicant feels that way. It's not city staff saying they've addressed all of our concerns. It's not city staff saying they addressed all the residents' concerns. It's just the applicant saying, well, we think we addressed all your concerns. And in finding number 3 on the findings, that there, the C3 plan recommends low-density residential use. And this is the strongest sentence I've found in our favor. However, the character of the surrounding neighborhood has a very low-density pattern of development. So I would urge you to find that the proposed final plat doesn't conform to the city codes, as I showed in these ordinances, is incompatible with the C3 2030 plan, as is in the city's document there, is not compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, and I would urge you to recommend denial to the city council. Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else that'd like to speak against this particular item?
Good evening. My name is James Bradley. I live at 1611 South Payne Street. Again, as the previous meetings, I come here to voice my opposition to the current plan as it's been provided to the Planning Commission, and I urge you to reject this plan to the council. Thank you.
Anybody else that'd like to speak in opposition to this item?
Briefly, Chair, just for reference, for your information on it, where this picture, my truck's in there for scale only, but that is, well, it's that southwest corner where the detention is. That's
Okay.
approximately 2/3 of an acre of woods.
Anybody else that'd like to speak in opposition of this item?
I'm Glenn Hoffman. I live at 1215 East 12th, and Ray's pretty well addressed everything that I think that needs to, I just agree with everything. It's just too many houses for that area. I kind of feel sorry for the person that lives on 17th Street, because right now they have about 4 or 5 houses that come down Payne that are going to be driving to their property, to their house. With these 39 houses in, you're going to have cars constantly driving with their lights straight into the house on 17th. Luckily, I don't live there, but I feel sorry for the person who does. That's just, in this area, I still worry about all the drainage, and I just think it's just too many houses for the area that we're living in. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that'd like to speak in opposition of this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and allow the applicant to come up here and say whatever she wants to say.
Just a couple of things to address, I think. So in city code, there is a landscape requirement. Those requirements only apply to commercial developments and multifamily developments. So small lot, 2-family dwelling subdivisions and single-family dwelling are not held to the landscape code requirements. And I believe that's where those sections of the code were taken from. And then also, city staff did finish their review of the final plat and accepted it. Not, I say accepted it, but it has addressed all the concerns as of January 14th. And this packet was written on January 10th. So it was due to the review process of the staff report that was written before, as the review was still going on for the final plat. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, Ransom Street, that's
Yes.
gravel right now, that's going to be a secondary access road,
For emergency vehicles. yes. Uh-huh.
emergency, and it's going to remain gravel?
Well, Ransom is where 16th goes to.
Right.
And I haven't heard any concerns from city staff about the structure of that street.
And I know we've
That-
asked before, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is there no possible way for that to not be an emergency exit? Could that not be a full-time access to that addition? And I know we've asked it before, but if you could repeat.
Due to the number of utilities that are going through there, it's a very narrow street, access drive. It doesn't meet city code requirements for the width of a street. So we're not able to make it a public street.
Is there any way to access more land along there through easement?
Not without
No.
land acquisition.
But that would be a possibility.
I don't know.
Just thinking outside the box a little.
Now, Ransom is in the floodplain, correct?
Mhm. It's been a while since I've looked at the floodplain. I don't recall what the extents are that far over.
My visual inspection of the areas tells me it is, but then again, I don't have the floodplain maps. So I'm just wondering if that is the case, that it's going to remain gravel, what will be the condition of that road?
The homeowners
After a flood
association
event.
would be required to maintain that.
Who?
The homeowners association.
Okay. All right.
Required to maintain 16.
No. Oh, yes, 16,
16.
yes. The access drive,
The access drive only.
yes.
Where it comes out on that street, they would not be,
No, that's a public,
it's a public street,
Yeah.
and the city maintains that street.
yes.
See someone raising their hand back there.
Any other questions we have of the applicant?
No.
Seeing none,
Thank you.
discussion from the commission. To me, they have put their final plat in. It's in full conformance with the zoning, and it's in full conformance with all the requirements of the city of Stillwater. They have an access point. Yes, it is 39 homes, so the amount of traffic is going to increase, but the normal rule of thumb is it'll be 2 to 3 cars per household, so that is 70 to 100 cars per day, which is not that great. To me, this fits all the requirements, and I don't see any way that we can, I'm going to vote for it.
I'm too unsatisfied vis-a-vis Mike. Go ahead.
Well, one of my concerns, both tenures on the planning commission, has been for sustainable development. And sustainable development means, does this make sense long-term? Looking at the C3 2030 plan, which calls out for low density, this development doesn't meet that criteria. I understand that how the land use map stands now, it allows for the density of this proposed development and plat. But again, I don't think that future considerations, it fits in to what the city's strategic plan is.
Low density, this fits into low density.
How does it?
Anything with 8 houses per acre or lower is a low density. Now, maybe you object to the definition of low density, but what you're asking for is an ultra low density, which the comprehensive plan does not have in this particular area. And the staff can get up and comment on that if they'd like to.
Yeah, it's zoned RSS, which is, it's Hilltop.
So there is not a definition of very low density residential in the comp plan. I would remind you that the comp plan was adopted in mid-2000s. So it's at least 5, if not pushing 15 years old at this point. You have RSS zoning, as you see on this graphic, on 3 sides, and then ag to the north. With that being said, while the RSS zoning allows a certain density, the low density residential designation in the comp plan can accommodate multiple residential districts, RSS being one of them. So it basically comes down to how well, in your mind, does that proposal fit with the adjacent lots in every direction?
So the definition is rather vague then?
Yes.
Okay.
So our low-density residential can be really RSL. It can include RSL, RSS zoning, can include RT, and it can include RTM. So that can get you small multifamily all the way down to acreages.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Doesn't change my opinion.
I have no questions.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that we accept findings and recommend City Council approve the proposed final plat as presented.
I'm going to second.
I'll call for the vote. The motion passes 3-1. Item 3A, regular meeting summary of January 7th, 2020.
I move we accept the meeting summary as presented.
Do I hear a second on that motion?
Second.
Call for the vote. Motion passes 4-0. The next Plan Commission meeting is February 4th, 2020. Do you hear a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.